good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of the seventh inning stretch. As always, my name is Josh Edwards. Our host this evening is Josh Lewis, and our special guest this evening is the Logan Stone.
Yeah.
Well, hello there.
Polite golf claps. Actually, I'm in Arizona, so we just had the Waste Management Open. There's no such thing as polite golf claps at that thing. But
No, that is the one tournament where it gets a little crazy.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird being on this side of the spectrum.
right? Most people know who Logan is, but now Logan's a guest.
Yeah, the house that Logan built. No, anyways,
right?
Glad to be on.
Glad to have you back in a different capacity. So, like Edward said, my name is Josh Lewis, and we are going to lead things off today, no pun intended, with hopefully everybody is having a great National Football Hangover Day. Are you guys feeling okay after Super Bowl yesterday?
Oh, yeah. I had to work today. I had 11 hours.
Right. I'm still on the side of we should put the Super Bowl on Saturday, so that we have a day to recover.
Rest.
I would be fine with that because they get 2 weeks off.
Oh, man.
And they start at 7 o'clock at night Central Time.
We are.
Damn right, Susie.
I love it. So we're going to start a new thing on this show that I will give all credit to Edwards for because it was his idea. But we're going to start a new segment called 3 Strikes, You're Out. And what that means is we are going to be ending the show with you guys listening or watching, get to throw whatever you want at us. We'll pick the 3 best comments or questions or concerns, arguments, whatever you want to call them, whatever you guys say in the comments. We will pick the 3 best ones and we will end the show with that. Hence the 3 strikes, and we are out. So as you're going through the show, listening to the show, anything that pops into your head in terms of a question can be related to what we're talking about, could be something that we're not talking about, whatever crosses your mind in the baseball world, or I guess that you want to know about us hosts or something. I don't know. But anything you guys want to throw out there, Edwards and I will answer at the very end of the show. So stick with us, and we will do that at the end. But before we get,
I want to justify something.
Okay.
And when we say the best questions, it's what we feel are the best. Our judgment. It could be the funniest. It could be the most insane. It can be our version of what we feel is the best message.
There you go. I like it. Yes.
Send us what you got, guys. Because
little caveat. It's what the Joshes think are the best. So. All right. So that being said, we're going to kind of bounce around to a few different things today. Topic number 1, I wanted to get Logan's thoughts on because we were kind of chatting just via text message earlier today that we have a new owner shakeup a little bit in the National League with the passing of the Washington Nationals owner. And there's always kind of a shakeup when an owner passes away, right? There's always going to be something a little bit different, or we're all wondering kind of what's going to happen or anything like that. But Logan, I wanted to get kind of your thoughts. You're like, hey, this is big news. This is going to have a lot of implications. So what do you see kind of as happening next? What makes you say that?
Well, first of all, rest in peace, Ted Lerner. From what I've understood, he was a really good owner. I believe he is part of he was the owner for the 2019 Nationals. So, I mean, he's a very not influential guy, but a big part of baseball in the DC area. But last year we were Josh and I were talking about the Nationals potentially being sold. And they were trying to sell it, and then they tried to sell it that was partially the reason why they wanted to get rid of Juan Soto. They did, and then they ended up kind of going silent for a while. So, I mean, for me, I just felt like this is a big deal just because it doesn't seem like anybody wants the Nationals team right now. So I don't really know how this works because I've never seen an owner die basically, and no one wants it. Like with King George the Steinbrenner, he gave it to his son, and Hal has run it. He's run it. The Yankees. So I mean, it's going to be interesting to see. I don't know. I wonder, like, just somebody's obviously going to buy it, and I wonder who and at what price. So,
do you guys feel like there's any? Do you guys feel like there's any sort of trend in terms of like, I don't know, like people not as invested in baseball in terms of like wanting to buy a team, so to speak? Because I mean, like, yeah, like you said, what they went through with the Nationals, and then we just had the thing this offseason, right, with Artie Moreno and the Angels. Then for whatever reason, maybe he didn't get the price he wanted or whatever, who knows? But like, was going to sell and then didn't sell, and then like, so do you feel like this is like an ongoing thing, or do you think they're kind of isolated incidents?
I feel like everybody is interested in buying a baseball team. It's just the fact that the only teams that are really for sale are shitty teams, like the Nationals. You're put it. It's not like a football team where one year you can just like go from worst to first. You are it's going to take some time, and unless you have money like Stephen Cohen, you can just buy all your players now and then start building from the ground up afterwards. Artie Moreno, I mean, he was selling a team for about 5 seconds that had two really great players, but they dug themselves into a hole with like a lot of bad contracts. And even to a certain extent, Mike Trout was a bad contract in certain ways. Sure. Not necessarily a bad contract, but it hinders the price tag of that team. So, I mean, yeah, I think nobody wants to go out and buy the Nationals right now, although I think that would probably be the best team. I think no one wants to go out and buy the Rays because no one wants to buy the Athletics. So it's kind of a weird team. The only teams that anybody wants to buy are the Mets, the Dodgers, and they're not for sale. The Mariners maybe. So
yeah, anyways, they want more of those brands. I feel like
they don't want to work so hard and put
they don't want
money
to rebuild the whole thing.
Yeah.
Any thoughts there, Edward?
I mean, I'll be honest with you guys. When the news broke, I didn't see it until Logan messaged us, and I didn't get a whole lot of time to look into it. I mean, I know who the guy was. I know he bought the team in 2016. He did have the World Series in 19. So, I mean, he was an older gentleman. I mean, it looks like he had a good run. It doesn't sound like he died in pain, so that's good for him. I know his family's going to go through a tough time right now. Just to cover that side of things. So I didn't do a lot of research on learner like Logan Scott. So sounds like he was a good dude, and it's going to have an impact on the community. And I just don't know. I don't know what the trend is that you got. I see the trend now you guys are bringing to my eyes, but it's something I haven't considered. Sure. Baseball has had some comments by owners saying that they're not making money, that they're losing money doing owning the teams. And I mean, I don't know how to necessarily that's possible except for maybe the COVID year. So maybe it's gotten some bad publicity and people aren't willing to take the risk or put the investment in. I mean, I have no idea.
Yeah.
That would just be my first thoughts, economically speaking.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see. Like, obviously, that was a big to do with the labor stuff, right? Was they weren't willing to show like if they were losing money or how much money they were losing or anything like that. Like, they weren't willing to show their books or anything. So anybody's guess what the financial situations are, but so yeah, I think it'll be interesting. I think it's one of those like wait and see kind of things. I don't know that, again, like Logan said, unless you're Cohen, then I don't know that changes in ownership are usually that extreme or usually that have a lot of implications necessarily, unless they just come in and be like, nope, I'm going to burn all my money and we're going to build this thing quickly instead of slowly. So yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. So we'll obviously keep tabs on that. So moving right along, kind of the second thing that we wanted to talk about was a follow up from last week. Logan, you weren't with us physically; you were jumping in the comments quite a bit. But last week we kind of touched on something with realignment, talking about rivalries, and it kind of got Edwards and I thinking. Or Edwards, you mentioned it in passing during the show, and it got my brain working on like what kind of, we talked about the three major rivalries, right? So we've got Dodgers and Giants, we've got the Yankees and Red Sox, and then we've got the Cardinals and Cubs. We're kind of the three big ones that we talked about, right? But it got us kind of considering like what are some rivalries that so I kind of have two questions here. First, what are some rivalries that we would like love to see? Like what are some rivalries we want to see either gain some traction, whether it's young stars that are coming up together, whether it's two teams that just genuinely don't like each other, whatever the case may be, young teams maybe that could go against each other for a lot of years. And for me, so we're taking out like those kind of traditional ones, the three that I mentioned, and let's take out any crosstown ones. So let's take out like the Chicago White Sox, Chicago Cubs. Let's take out the Angels, Dodgers, like those kind of crosstown, the A's and Giants. Let's take out those crosstown ones. What are some, Edwards, I'll let you kind of have the floor first if you have one. What are some rivalries that we would like to see kind of start to take place or start to take shape?
Well, personally, I'm a fan of regional rivalries. But there's something to be said about those rivals that you don't play as often as you do everybody else that's nearby. And they can be rather intense. I think a great matchup would be like a Braves Dodgers, because the Dodgers have been good for the last few years, and the Braves are definitely on the upswing. And I'm sure it's been a rival at some point, or a rivalry at some point in time, but not in my lifetime, really. So I think that'd be a good rivalry setup, coast to coast.
I like that one a lot because it seems like, not necessarily because the Dodgers have a good farm system, but it almost seems like, okay, the Dodgers have been so dominant, at least in the regular season, for the last decade. And the Braves have kind of, they didn't really fall off necessarily, but they're kind of the young team coming up with all these guys that are locked down forever. Like they're kind of the next dynasty, so to speak. I think that would be a cool one. I like that one. Logan, you got any?
I think I have one. It's the Athletics and the Marlins. And it's only because they are so shitty that they need to have some form of entertainment. And if there was a brawl every 5 minutes of that game, just being like, I hate you, your team sucks. And you're like, your team sucks too. And they would just be awesome. I want everybody mic'd up. I want that. I just want it.
Can we call the Mariners shitty anymore though? Like, I mean, they made the playoffs.
Marlins.
Marlins. My bad. I misheard you.
Yeah. No,
I
would
like
never
that.
say anything bad about the Mariners.
Yeah, no, that I like. That I am on board with. You got the East Coast, West Coast still a little bit, kind of. Yeah, both just oh my gosh, terrible franchises.
And I like to see them. I like to see the Mariners and the Yankees.
I like that one. Throwing it back to the 90s a little bit.
I want to see some gruff stuff. I want to see some evil Yankees again, and like almost like the Mariners are bad boys, but they're not like completely bad, not as bad as the bully Yankees. I want to see that. I want to see fists.
I feel like the Yankees are still the bullies. Yeah. Right? We'll have paid enforcers on the team now.
Yes.
That'd be awesome. You see the catchers taking off their helmets and throwing down and everything. Like
Jose Canseco has a job again.
That was good.
Oh man, good. I love it. Well, so like, is it Bourbon and Baseball is popping into our comments here a little bit, and so that made me think of one that we touched on last week, but there we go. There it is. They're both too busy getting their asses kicked by the Astros. I was going to say Yankees and Astros has kind of started to become one a little bit.
Yeah. It's fine. I don't know. it's weird having to root for the Yankees in that rivalry just because they've been kind of the good guys in that whole scenario where the Astros were cheating and the Yankees were like, dude, this is fucked up. And so, but I mean, I like the Astros, so calm down, Susie, before you start commenting something.
Right?
I got
Oh
one
my
for
gosh.
Susie.
All right. So,
What was that, Josh?
That got
So I got another one for Susie.
Yeah, I like it. Go for it.
One from my childhood, the Astros and the Cardinals.
There you go. We did touch on that one too. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know. I get scared of that rivalry.
That's why it's a rivalry. You love it, but you're afraid of it at the same time. It's a healthy respect.
That's a good one. I'm trying to think of if there are any like crazy ones. Maybe like the Rays and the A's, since both of them are moving. Like
Trying to move.
They both be the transplants going against each other.
That'd be fine.
I'm trying to think of like we need another Canadian team so that we can get a Canadian rivalry.
Yeah. Hey, Montreal Expos. I'm pretty sure I have the copyright claim to that one, so I am the full-time owner of the Montreal Expos.
There you go. I like
Just
it.
kidding.
They'll change the name.
I'm not changing the name. I will never do that.
No, they will. They'll change the name before they move.
Oh man. Hey, we have some Expos love in the comments. So Vandy Chris 24 showing loving the Expos.
Tom Brady, the 2024 catcher for the Montreal Expos.
There we go. I love it. Hey, if they still have the rights to him,
they should.
20 some odd years later.
Would I be able to address something though in the comment that I saw from Susie on Bourbon and Baseball?
Yeah, go for it.
So she said, dude, the Rays would be awesome. So I was actually thinking going back to the Nationals ownership type thing. I was thinking, if a real owner bought the Rays and built a new stadium, the Tampa Bay Rays would probably have the best fan base. I mean, the Buccaneers kind of came back to life after Tom Brady came, and everybody was like the biggest Buccaneers fan. I think I would put my money, if I'm someone who wants to buy a team, I would buy the Rays, and I would stop with the whole we're gonna take Blake Snell out of the 6th inning of the World Series, and we would just listen. There are analytics that needs to be in there, but not so much analytics right there. Anyways, there's my 2 cents on that. I was thinking about that today as I was driving home, and I was gonna try to work my way in there, and then I saw Susie. Great minds think alike. Or ours.
I love the ideas of bringing like different teams into it. Like where the expansion team is going to come in, and like what kind of rivalries could we see maybe with that? Like obviously it takes some time to develop a rivalry, right? Like you can't just like declare it, right? Like the Mets want to declare that they have a rivalry with the Yankees, and the Yankees are like, yeah, that's cute. Like that's not. You can't just declare that you have a rivalry, right? So it does take
Padres and Dodgers.
Yeah, Padres and Dodgers is another good one. Like Padres are like, oh, we're the. I live in Arizona, so the Diamondbacks, like, I feel like they're like desperate. I'm not a Diamondbacks fan, but like I feel like I listen to the radio out here. They're like desperate for a rival. Like they're just like, could we have the Dodgers? Could we have the Padres? Could we have anybody? Can we have a rival?
They can have the Rockies. They're on the same level playing field.
Yeah, I was gonna say, talk about Mets and Braves is a thing. That is definitely a thing.
Mets and Cardinals used to be a thing.
It'd be nice to have again.
I like the idea of maybe Nashville not happening there, but I do like the idea of the Diamondbacks and Rockies only because that's another one like your Marlins and A's one where they're just bad. That being said, I do think the Diamondbacks will have some traction this year for what it's worth. But
Andrew Chafin,
back to them. He used to be with them.
Yeah.
But so that's interesting. So rivalries. I feel like there does play into some time that needs to build. Definitely some fisticuffs or maybe beanballs or brushbacks or whatever, like some kind of tense moments to build that up a little bit. Pennant races are always good, right? For rivalries, like different teams going at it until the very end, and so that can build some rivalries and whatnot, like we had in football with like the Patriots and Colts and stuff like that. And so all that to say, like, I'm here for it. I love rivalries. They're a lot of fun, but nothing will compare
Real
to
quick.
Yeah, go.
Because I have a question on this topic for each one of you. If you could make an instant rivalry, there's instant bad blood, any two teams in the league, which two teams would you choose?
Instant bad blood.
Like, you could just poof, snap your fingers and it happens.
Two teams.
Braves and Phillies. I know that they already have a rivalry, but I want it to be a little bit more fiery. And I think it will get more fiery this year now that they're both pretty good now. I think that's my team, really.
I'm trying to think. I don't know. Like the Yankees and Astros, I feel like are almost there. I know, like that's kind of a cop out because they're already kind of building on it.
No, I'm talking any two teams you want. Any two.
That would be fun. I want like a random one. Like I want something out of the AL Central, right? Like they all feel like that's a division where it's like they all think they're rivals with each other, but it doesn't really grab any headlines or traction really outside of those markets. So I would love to see two teams, especially maybe the Guardians and somebody else, because I like Francona's kind of got that old school feel to him. I'm trying to think. There's some good ones popping up in the comments. Rays Red Sox, that could be fun. Both of them need to kind of get a little bit better. I think that Vandy Chris 24 brings up another good point of the Cubs and Cardinals. I don't know. You guys are more in tune with this being Cardinals guys. The Cubs and Cardinals already a rivalry, but unless both clubs are top of the line, it kind of gets ignored. I think there's some truth to that. I think that honestly, I feel that a little bit with the Dodgers and Giants even. Like I think Yankees and Red Sox are the end all be all. Like they're always a rivalry. So I don't think that ever doesn't get pub. But yeah, I think Cubs, Cardinals, and even more so, than Dodgers, Giants. Yeah, unless they're both really good, they definitely don't get as much pub as the other ones for sure.
Which is part of the reason I want the Cubs to be good. Because being a St. Louis guy, I want the Cubs to be good so the rivalry means more. I like those primetime Saturday night, Sunday night games back to back. Those are fun to watch.
Yeah. I like that one a lot. I don't even have a rooting interest in that one usually, and it's just fun to watch. Ooh, there you go. I like that one. Angels A's make each other hate each other. So I actually like that one. I grew up in Southern California, and the Angels A's was kind of a thing, just in the Angels market anyway. Like I grew up 5 minutes from Angel Stadium, so like I do feel that one a little bit. I like that one a lot in the comments there. But it doesn't get as much traction as normal. I like that one though. That could be a fun one. I think it would actually gain more traction just if the A's were better. I mean, they're both bad right now, but if the A's were better and maybe had I don't know, maybe if they moved to Vegas, then that one would be even more fun. But I don't know. Anyway. All right. Those are all really good ones. I love the rivalry talk. Anybody else have thoughts on that? Put them in the comments. We'd love to talk more about that. But moving on, because I know this one's going to take us a while. I wanted to leave plenty of space for the bulk of our show here. We're going to talk a little bit about the rule changes. We're going to kind of review those and get some thoughts on and some instant reaction on those. Let's talk about, so I'll go over, I took kind of the 5 main ones. There's some other minor tweaks here and there. Everybody knows the 3 major ones, but I put in a couple extras. So I'll kind of go over them kind of one at a time, and we'll kind of get some instant reaction and kind of what we're all thinking. Announced today The first kind of minor one that we already have experience with seeing, but is made kind of more permanent, is the ghost runner, as it's called, right? We have in extra innings, you've got the runner on second. That is becoming a permanent thing. They voted on that unanimously, which I'm kind of shocked that anything happens in baseball unanimously, but that is one of, I'll just say it from my perspective first, that is one of the ones that I hate. I do not enjoy the whole ghost runner proposition. I would have much rather seen that as more of a last resort kind of thing. Like, give them a couple of extra innings at least to like play it straight up. And then if you want to do that in like the 12th, 13th, whatever, then I'd be a little bit more cool with it, even though I don't like it. But doing it right from the get-go in the 10th inning, I'm just not a fan of. What do you guys think?
Josh, I know you're going to be a lot more vibrant on that one.
Yeah, I hate the ghost runner, period. So you and I actually agree on this one. If you're going to do it in the 12th inning. Make them go 3 more innings of regular baseball. And then throw the ghost runner in if you're that worried about it. But you're doing too much, in my opinion, of changing the structure of the game and how scores are settled in baseball.
Yeah, what'd you think there, Logan?
So, I must preface this. I went to a baseball game between the Cardinals and the Diamondbacks back in 2019, and I was like, "Oh, this is going to be a fun game." Jack Flaherty's pitching, and the game lasted 18 innings, and it wasn't a good 18 innings. It wasn't even a good 9 innings. It was a 1-run game the whole time, and then they tied it in the 9th. Anyways, it was 18 innings. Something needs to be done.
I watched that game on TV.
Did you see me in it crying in the background? I was like,
I didn't know you then, but I remember that game.
Yeah. Anyways, but yeah, so something needs to be done because honestly, I love baseball more than I love a lot of things. Watching an 18-inning game is really hard to do. So something needed to be done. That being said, I hate the ghost runner. I think it should have come with something else. Like maybe it's a runner on second with 1 out already. So that way it doesn't take 2 fly balls to win the game. I think that gets a little bit, it's like, okay, that's a little stupid. Although hitting a fly ball is really hard to do sometimes. So something needed to do, like just, I was thinking a swing off, home run derby at the end.
Home run derby.
Like I heard, I think it was John Boy who said it last year, so I don't want to take full credit of it, but it was like a home run derby to end it, like the comparison to a slap shot at the end of a hockey game. Oh my gosh,
shootout.
I'm doing a shootout. Sorry, I was thinking of the movie. I think that would be a better way to end a game. Just end on a high note, because after the 9th inning, you can tell the players are tired, they're exhausted, and they don't want to put too much effort because they don't want to waste all their energy now. So I'm just like, after the 9th inning, players just don't care anymore. They don't even care who wins or loses, it seems like. So it just make it quicker. I don't think the base runner was the best way to go, though. So
I would almost rather have a tie than the base runner. Like as much as I hate ties,
don't say
like,
that. Don't say that.
Yeah, you're going on a bad path there, buddy.
I know. I don't like ties. Like, don't get me wrong. They're terrible. But that's how much I don't like the ghost runner. Like it's kind of the same level for me. Because to me, you are changing the structure of the game. Like, I don't mind rule changes to speed up play or to end game. Like, I get all the rule changes that are trying to be made, but most of them are not changing the actual structure of the game. And to me, like, this changes putting a runner on second automatically. Yeah. Just completely changes the dynamic of the game. And I'm like, man, everybody's swinging for home runs anyway. Like, what's the point of putting a guy on second if you're all swinging for the fences anyway? Like, just hit a home run. Like, I mean, what's the point of the runner? But so that's one that's we've talked a lot about here and there. So I'll move on to the next one. I thought the new one that was announced earlier today was really fascinating. So I want to get your guys' thoughts on this. And that's having to do with position players pitching, right? Excuse me. Position players can only pitch now in extra innings. They can't pitch during the game, the quote unquote regular game, or in the ninth inning. However, in the ninth inning, the leading team can only do it if they're up by more than 10 runs. The losing team can only do it if they're behind by at least 8 runs. So there are some parameters there where you can do it. You can't just throw it out if you're down 4. It has to be more than 10 for the leading team, more than 8 for the losing team, and only the ninth inning or later. So I thought that those were some interesting parameters. What did you guys think of, first of all, just position players in general pitching, but then like kind of these extra boundaries, so to speak, on it? I'll let Logan go first this time.
Sorry. I saw this and I was kind of shocked. I thought it was a joke at first because I had not heard anything about it. I thought maybe it was a proposal or anything. No, it was official. And I gotta say, I love it. Last year I was getting bored out of my mind. Not bored. I was hating the idea of like a losing team being down by 6 runs and then putting a position player into pitch, and then the opposing or their teammates start laughing. I saw it with the Brewers when they faced the Dodgers, and they were just laughing, and they were losing by 10 runs or something. And I'm like, don't enjoy this. This is not some funny thing that is happening right now. You can't be enjoying that you are losing right now. That is not fun. That's not a good thing. And then even, I honestly harken back to it multiple times, or I have in the last year, and it still pisses me off. And I think it just turned into kind of a sideshow. And I got kind of tired of seeing position players do it. And then if they ever got a home run hit off them and they had like 3 balls and then they swung, or the hitter swung and hit a home run, they were like, that's not right. You're not supposed to be swinging at a 3-0 count. Tony La Russa, you can suck my dick. Anyways, fuck Tony La Russa. Anyways, so I love this. I want to get rid of the whole gimmick. I think it was overplayed last year. It was stupid, and I hate it, and it was moronic.
Yeah, we might as well be the Savannah Bananas at that point. Like,
yeah,
if you're just going to make it fun and silly, then go somewhere else. But Edward's thoughts on this? Oh man, did we lose Edwards?
No, I'm here.
Ah, there we go. All right, what's your deal with position players pitching?
Man, I'm kind of I don't know. I don't like the rule. I understand what's behind it and everything. My initial reaction is no, I don't like it. Who is the MLB to tell a manager how to use his players? Like, I don't like it.
So you're just against the rule. Like, you don't necessarily have a problem putting position players out there to pitch.
No, if your team's getting blown out or you're running out of pitchers, no, I think it's perfectly fine. What MLB player at some point in his life did not get on a mound and throw the ball across the plate? They can all do it.
They're paid to throw. They're paid to throw accurately anyway, no matter what their position is, right? Like
Right,
if you're
the
an
baseball
infielder, you're trying to throw to first base. If you're an outfielder, you're trying to throw to the bases. Like they all know how to throw accurately. The part that bugs me about it is they get up there and they throw 55 miles an hour
Right.
when you've got a cannon from right field. Like throw the effing ball. Like what are we doing here? Like where to me it loses. I'm kind of half and half with both of you. Like I like this rule only to the extent that it prevents more of the ridiculousness of it. I feel like it's the closest thing that we'll get to a mercy rule in baseball, which is a whole nother topic. But
You can watch a Caught in the Pickle episode for that one, right?
so I had a Caught in a Pickle episode all about kind of this whole idea of different rule changes and whatnot. But I can't remember who my guest was for that episode, but they put out the mercy rule idea. But I don't know. In the comments, you can't tell me you didn't love seeing Albert Pujols on the mound. Yeah, I can say that because I didn't.
No,
I love Albert Pujols, but didn't enjoy seeing him pitch.
Seeing the Cardinals winning by 16-0, and then it end up the game winning the game 16-6 was kind of scary for me as a fan. I was like, okay, how long are we going to play this? But I do want to push back on Josh real quick because I feel like MLB did have to step in for a minute because the position players were pitching in the 6th inning. And then it was just like they were giving up way too early. And listen, I understand trying to preserve your pitchers, but you got to put a little bit of effort. I mean, people pay hundreds of dollars sometimes for tickets to these games, not to see you give up halfway through the game. That's not good for business. That's not good for anything.
I'm not saying you're wrong there, but I'm saying if you're going to have put a guy on the mound, he better be able to get the ball across the plate in a decent fashion.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. I got no problem with it, but just tell him, hey, you got to at least get it up there around 70, 75 miles an hour and get it across the plate.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you're throwing pitches that like 6th graders could hit, like that's dumb. Like, come on. It's a little ridiculous. Like they can all throw harder than that.
It's not cool to see a position player pitch an ephus.
I'm not against I'm not expecting them to get up there and have a 5-pitch repertoire, right? Like they're not going to get up there and throw like split fingers and sliders and change ups and all that. I'm not expecting that, but at least like throw the ball. Like you throw harder than that playing catch. Come on.
Right.
So, I mean, that's my thing with it. I'm okay. I am with you, Edwards, that I was kind of surprised that it was needed, and with you, Logan, that I was surprised that like this was a thing, that it just kind of came out of left field and was like, yeah, hey, we've got this new rule. And everybody's like, what? So yeah, I get it. I don't like it, but I get it because yeah, it puts some boundaries on and this is one of those rules that I'm like, it's not necessarily changing the structure of the game. You can still do it if you want. You just can't do it during a certain time. So yeah, I don't know. I don't like the situation. It's not entertaining to me to see a position player pitch, but that part is what it is. So let me pull up my list here. All right. So another kind of minor one, not a ton to talk about, but the bigger bases, right? These are the ones that we're getting into the three rules that we kind of all knew were coming. They've tested them out in the minors. They're going to start in 2023 here. First one is the bigger bases. You got 3 extra inches on the bases, which I'm sure there will be a ton of jokes about the extra inches this year, whether it's from fans or groups or commentators or whatever. That'll be fun. But 3 extra inches on the bags. I have seen that this has prevented some injuries down in the minors. And so I'm on board with it from that point of view. I don't know. Any other thoughts with that? Like, that's kind of my only thought on that is kind of the injury part of it. Like anything else that it's like kind of jumping out at you about that one?
Logan, you want to go first or me?
You can go.
All right, so
Shut
I'm all
up,
for
Susie.
I'm all for it. I want the bigger bags. I'm hoping that the bigger bags cause coaches and players to run more. Much more like baseball in the 80s and the early 90s before the steroid era got big and blew up and everybody was juicing. I think that would make baseball more exciting. They'd have to produce runs. It wouldn't just be about the home run anymore. You could run for scores. In the 80s, that's how the game was played. The Royals played that way. Minnesota played that way at times. The Cardinals were famous for playing that way. It wasn't about hitting home runs to win the game. It was about playing the game of baseball. That's singles, doubles, stealing, moving guys over, drag bunts. Oh, Jesus. Of course. Yes, that's true. But I think that would be more exciting. I mean, baseball was a heyday in the 80s, and it's because it was fun to watch. Seeing teams manufacture runs is so much more fun than just watching guys hit bombs. And I love watching guys hit bombs. Don't get me wrong. I like it as much as the next guy. But seeing runs manufactured in the game of baseball being played in the art form in which it was designed and created to play is a beautiful thing. Because let's be honest, Logan and I have said it before, it's hard not to be romantic about baseball. And the manufacturing of runs is the most romantic offensive thing that can happen in baseball.
Yeah, I think I wanted to address one of the comments. So Vandy Chris 24 is saying it's called small ball colleges to perfect that to win in Omaha. No need for bigger bases there. Agreed, which is why I am, and what you asked earlier, why were bigger bases needed in the comments there. I don't know that it was needed per se. I think the proponents of it saying that, oh, it's going to create more steals or it's going to create more action. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I mean, you've got 3 inches on both sides, so 6 inches total, maybe that that you get a little bit more of a jump. I don't know. I think personally that base stealing is a little bit more of a lost art form. So I don't know that the distance will. Like, you still have to know how to steal a base. Like, you still have to know how to read a pitcher. You still have to have speed. You still have to learn how to do it. And so I don't see the distance making that much of a difference on base stealing. However, so I'm not a big buyer into that. I am 100% buying into the injury thing, though. Just because they tried it, they have statistical data to back up. Hey, there's less collisions. There's less. There's more space on the bag, so you're not running into each other. You're not stepping on each other. You're not stepping on people's fingers and breaking fingers or whatever.
Less jammed fingers and less ankle injuries too.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever.
So I think that's more of not necessarily why we're bigger bases needed per se, but I think that was one of the driving factors behind it. And I think that part is a really, really good thing because I'm tired of, guys like twisting an ankle on a base, right, and being out for 6 weeks, which is a whole nother issue of tape it up and keep going. But there, but I do like that aspect of it. I don't know, man. Everybody keeps saying, Susie's saying it too. Like, everybody keeps saying that steals are going to tick up. I don't know that that's really the case. I mean, it's just,
well, if
I don't know. I just don't see it.
I think, well, I mean, if you're adding 3 inches to each side, that's 12 inches because 3 times 4. I'm about to do some math here.
Hey, there you go.
Anyways, so that's 12 inches on one base. And then, like, say, so first base is 12 inches bigger, 12 inches bigger. and then second base is 12 inches bigger. That's 24 inches. And I mean, that's a bit. I mean, you think about, the best base stealer in the world, Trey Turner. He's going to swipe some bags. He's going to take advantage of that because it's really hard to stop him anyways. And I think, but I really do think, steals are going to come up or definitely tick up, and it's going to be a lot more interesting, and pitchers are not going to be able, because really this whole rule change, like with the pickoff attempt,
you're only, so that's one I didn't put in the list. You're only allowed 2 pickoffs per at bat.
Yeah. All of this is basically to say, hey, listen, pitchers, you've been a little bit too pampered lately. We need you to pick it up a little bit. So they've really focused on the pitcher. And so, I mean, the pitcher can't just be like taking 20 minutes to dab his shoulder and, all this crap. He's got to really mean business whenever he's doing stuff. And that's going to speed up the game, which is going to make the game a lot more fun. And it's gonna cause a lot more, like, you're gonna have to pay attention. You cannot just not pay attention to the runner at first. You have to. If you don't, there will be stolen bases thrown off of you. And I do want to say, because I had this nightmare the other day, and I'm sorry, Josh, but I'm gonna have to mention it. The St. Louis Cardinals just got a new catcher, and there's gonna be a whole wall of things against him. One of the things is going to be his defense. There is going to be an uptick of stolen bases this year against the Cardinals. Not all of that is going to be because of who's behind the plate. I'm just going to say that. I'm not going to judge it all up. I'm just saying that's going to be a factor, and I think Cardinal fans are not going to give Wilson Contreras a fair shake because they're going to be like, stolen bases went up so much, and it's going to be like, it's not all his fault. Some of it is, just not all. Anyways, there's my thing. There's my piece. I've said it.
Which is kind of like, that is a thing though. Like I saw the stat the other day of like stolen bases against the Cardinals are like over, what is it, over the last like 5 years, 10 years,
850 something.
Yeah, they've got like 250 less stolen bases against them than the next
500.
Team.
500.
Is it 500? Okay.
Yeah.
Like,
less than the Diamondbacks.
It was crazy. Yeah, it was insane. But yeah, I think the pickoff rule is actually more important than the base thing.
Yeah.
In terms of stolen bases. Like there's not going to be, and that leads us into our next rule with the pitch clock, is there's not going to be that gamesmanship, so to speak, of like, oh, I'm going to stand here and stare you down and not step off. Like you can't do that anymore. Like or varying your like your pitch cadence, right? So like we would when I played, like you would time the pitcher, right, and get a pitch cadence. And if the pitcher wasn't paying attention to his pitch cadence and not mixing it up, then you could time him and you could take off. And so that's not going to be as much of a thing with the pitch clock. So let's jump into that. The new pitch clock, pitchers have 15 seconds to throw a pitch when the bases are empty. They have 20 seconds with base runners on. Batters have to be in the box within 8 seconds, which I love because Nomar Garciaparra would have gotten strikes called against him all the freaking time. But so it's I love equality. So I love that they do it for the batter and for the pitcher. And so I am actually pretty for this rule, but I'll let Logan, I'll let you start with the pitch clock.
I like it. For the reasons I stated earlier, like it's going to be easier. Pitchers are going to have to really pay attention. They're not going to be able to lollygag or, do anything stupid. They're just going to have to pitch and go, and that's about it. You're going to have to do it, and it's going to quicken things up, and I like that. When we interviewed Randy Carricker, St. Louis Sport, ESPN radio personality, he said in the minor leagues, he saw that pitcher velocity was going down after the pitch clock. because they usually use that time to recharge their arm. And I found that pretty interesting. So it's going to be interesting. I have a feeling that we're going to see a lot of injuries, and I feel like we're going to see a lot of people blaming the pitch clock and making the pitch clock out to be some demon like they did whenever they took away Spider Tack. Tyler Glasnow, he got injured and ended up having Tommy John surgery, and he ended up blaming everybody. He was like, "Oh, this is horrible. I can't throw pitch without Spider Tack." I'm like, okay. Anyway, so that's something I'm not going to have fun yelling at people about, but whatever.
It's like, you don't use Spider Tack in Little League, man. Like, what?
No.
Like, I don't understand why it's such a big deal for professional players to not be able to adjust to a ball. Like, I get it.
Yeah.
They're professionals. They can notice the difference in balls. I get it. But they're since ball league or in Little League either. So I don't know. But Edwards, pitch clock. What do you like?
Oh, I'm for the pitch clock. I think it's. I'm thinking of it like a shot clock or a play clock in football. I'm going to give it its fair shake. I'm going to try to be positive about it, but my initial thoughts are I want to like it, so hopefully I will. I think we'll see a dramatic change in the pitching, like Randy Carricker brought up in our interview with him. Those guys who take a long time are those guys who throw 100 all the time. Jordan Hicks is one of them for the Cardinals. They take time, long time between their pitches. So hopefully this will help speed up the game. I think they're saying it shaves like 19 minutes in the minor leagues or something. I don't know the exact stat. But I think it's all going to the bases, the pitch clock, the pickoff limitation. I think that's all going to help contribute to more running in baseball. At least that's my hope. Just because I think it's more fun that way. But I think the pitch clock could be a good thing, and it may be a step in the right direction for the MLB.
And I do want to say, I don't like, obviously Spider Tack is bad, or not bad, but it affected velocity and it affected drop. Drop.
Sure, you can't get the same spin. You can't get the same spin rate. You can't get the same velocity. Like, I get it, but
yeah, but like not Spider Tack, sunscreen and rosin is totally fine, and we're. I mean, I'm okay with it personally. I think getting a better grip is fine. It's just Spider Tack affected your velocity. It was kind of like a pitcher's version of steroids in a way. So, but anyways, I wanted to say that real quick.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I love all the college analogies that Vandy Chris is bringing here. Like, they've instituted a lot of this in the college ranks.
Is he a VSN guy?
Interesting. What's that?
Is he a VSN guy?
I think so, but I can't remember who it actually is. So Vandy Chris 24. All I know is your username. I can't place you if you're with VSN or not. But that's interesting. So he brings up this point: you can't take your time. The velos do drop around the 5th or 6th inning, so it'll make teams have better middle relief. Which, I don't know. I feel like that could be a negative. Like, to me, I already feel like there's too many pitchers, but that's just my thing. I don't know. That's really interesting, though. I would love to see some of what you were talking about, Logan. I would love to see some like kinesiology science behind the, as you put it, the recharging of your arm, like taking those breaths, taking a minute to kind of gather your body back to then deliver this violent pitch again. So, I don't know. It's interesting. So, excuse me.
Bless you.
Oh, all right. Let's move on to the last one here, which is, I know Edwards has some very visceral feelings for, but the shift restrictions. I'm not calling them shift bans because I don't like that terminology, but the restrictions, illegal formations, so to speak, that's the one that I like. But infielders have to be on the dirt, or infield grass, depending on the ballpark. But infielders have to be on the dirt, and only 2 on each side of second. So what were your thoughts with that, Edwards, bringing that into the next season here?
So I have 2 points of view on this. One is as somebody who believes these athletes are overpaid for playing a game. If you're getting paid that kind of money, you better learn how to hit against the shift, and you better learn how to hit the other way like they did when I was growing up in the 80s and 90s. The other side of me loves it because I don't think they're good enough, and I think it'll add more excitement if you don't have 3 guys stacked on one side of the field, or sometimes even 4. So I'm actually all for the shift limitations, and hopefully they have a good impact this year, and hopefully it produces more runs, higher scoring games.
Can a guy win comeback player of the year as a result of a rule change? I'm thinking Joey Gallo. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. He's going to have a career year for sure.
Like, he's one of those guys where I'm thinking, like, and I did an episode on this specific rule as well, of like just the statistics behind how many shifts are employed. I'm sure left-handed hitters are jumping for joy that this is going to happen because it was employed against them most of the time. It was lefties that it was happening against. So, like, this is one of the points that always comes up with the shift, right? Is bunting as a lost art form again. And I think it'll actually bring up a change in excitement, like we're talking about with the bases and pickoff stuff with the base running. I think this will change the excitement of fielding a little bit. Like, guys are going to be more spread out. Balls aren't going to be hit right to them. We're going to see a lot more athleticism from the different positions and a lot greater defensive plays. More web gems from back of the day. I don't even know if they still do those anymore, but web gems and that guys will have, and that'll be a lot more fun to watch, a lot more highlight reel type stuff. Because nobody likes a line drive hit right at the shortstop playing in shallow right field. I mean, that's not fun to watch. Like, I would much rather see a second baseman laying out and making an amazing play on that. Yeah. So I'm all for it. I mean, we have illegal formations and illegal positions in every other sport. So why not baseball? I don't think this one changes the structure of the game as much. Like, you're still playing baseball, still got to catch the ball, still got to make a throw, all that. So yeah, I am with Vandy Chris 24 on that. I'll bring it back up. Like, as a hitter, as the type of hitter that I was, I want the shift as a hitter because, yeah, I'm dropping down a bunt and I'm using my speed and I'm getting down the line. I'm getting on base. It's that terminology from Moneyball, right? What does he do? Gets on base.
Gets on base.
And you can do that a lot better when somebody's got everybody playing away from where you're going to bunt the ball. So, and yeah, like what I was saying, there's another comment down there. I love seeing a Dansby throw from shallow right to gun down a runner. The shift takes that away. So, yeah, I am all for it. I'm cool with this iteration of it. I know there were some other proposals like banning all shifts and banning this or that or whatever. I think this is a good kind of compromise or kind of middle ground, so to speak, of like, okay, you can still move around. You can still, like, there's some caveats in it. Like, you have to stay in your position for that whole inning. So like, you can't have a shortstop over like where the second baseman is, or like you can't swap your second baseman and your shortstop positions. If you start the inning at second base, you have to stay at second base. Now you can switch at the next inning, like, and maybe that comes into play strategy wise. Maybe you're like, oh, these 3 hitters are all left-handed hitters. We want our better fielder on the right side of the infield. Hey, let's put our shortstop over at second base. I don't know if that would happen, but that is a caveat to that rule, that you have to play the whole inning at your position, basically, is what it is. So
I didn't know that part.
Yeah, so that was a caveat that I learned today, actually.
Okay.
In
So I
preparation.
don't think I ever heard that.
Yeah, so I thought that was interesting. Just an interesting little kind of side note to that. But hey, we got an appearance by the Out of Your Falcon Mind guys. I love it. So that is all the new rule changes. If you had to pick one, like what do you completely on board with? Like if you had anything that we talked about today, if you picked one thing where it's like, oh, I'm really excited to see this year, like what would it be kind of out of everything that we've talked about and how it changes the game? I'll let Edwards go first.
Oh, I'd go. I guess I would say pitch clock. I'm excited to see how that affects pitchers and batters and base running.
That's my thing. I figure you can time things a lot better with the pitch clock now. Like
Gonna affect
what's
hitters, too.
yours, Logan? What jumps out at you the most?
Well, I'm excited about the shift. Thank you for asking, Josh. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, the shift is the thing I'm most excited for, and I want to go back. You know, I always hear old school guys, and I'm not picking on you, Josh, but I'm just saying, I always hear old school guys saying, you know, you gotta, if you can't hit against the shift, then you shouldn't be in Major League Baseball. And I go, listen, pitchers today are different than they were back in the 80s, 60s, and 50s. They have so much more movement on their balls. They have so much more velocity. So you have to know what the pitcher is going to throw. You have to know where he's going to throw it. You have to adjust to where he's going to pitch. You have to know where you're going to hit. You're going to try to hit it. On top of that, if you keep the shift, you have to know, hey, I have to learn, which I don't know about you guys, but whenever I tried to hit it opposite field, that was pretty hard as a kid. That's not easy to do. So you have to do all this as a hitter. And on top of that, you got to be able to get on base. And listen, yes, you can bunt, but if every lefty on a baseball team bunted, because the shift is really against the lefties, it doesn't really affect the righties as much. It affects them a little bit, not too much, but it only affects the lefties. So every lefty hitter is going to be bunting, and it's just stupid, and it doesn't add anything to the game. Bunting is a fun thing when it's done once every game, twice a game maybe, but it's not fun after you see it 15 times a day. So I mean, and yes, you can say all you want, you got to learn how to hit the opposite way. Sorry, it's honestly, it's impossible. It's close to impossible. Ted Williams used to say the hardest thing in the world is hitting that little ball with your tiny bat, basically. I can't remember the exact quote. So you can't add to it and then just say, oh, well, you got to be able to do it.
Round ball,
That's
round
my
bat,
thing.
and hit it square.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, no, I get that. And coming from a guy who was kind of the first one that the shifts really got going against, like that's, yeah, I don't know. There is a part of me though that does like the slash and dash type of player. Like, no, is it easy? No. Is it like, yes, the pitchers are a lot different than they used to be. And so I don't know, maybe if we saw some of the rule changes with pitchers in terms of like what we've been talking about, and another thing that I'll touch on later, but if we saw some rule changes with the pitchers to where it made it more possible, because I think what you're touching on, I think it was easier to hit to the other side like back in the day, so to speak. Like it is easier to push the ball the other way, bunt the ball, slash the ball, whatever, let the ball travel in the zone. That's what we always called it. Let the ball travel a little bit, and whatnot. So I think that was easier to do than it is now, with the way that pitchers are and what they're throwing and how hard they're throwing. So maybe, I don't know, maybe some of these things make it easier for batters to learn that again, to where they are learning this art form of hitting the other way and whatnot. And I don't know. Maybe it course corrects and makes hitting a little bit more of a broad gift than just pulling the ball and launch angle and all that sort of stuff. So,
And like you said earlier, like on the defensive side, nothing is more boring than when the fielder knows exactly where the ball is going to be hit because of the little piece of paper in the back of his pocket that he just looks at after every batter. They just take 3 steps left and they know exactly, and it's hit right to them. And it's just like, that's not fun. That's not athleticism. That's a little bit too much of a nerdy chess
That's
from the analytical department. And that's why
that is one thing they need to get rid of, by the way. If there was with all these rule changes, like you can't take a piece of paper out with you onto the field and be looking at your little cheat sheet between each batter. To me, that is mind-boggling.
Let me play devil's advocate. Football players get to wear wristbands with the plays on them.
Yeah, I don't like that either. Like what?
Neither do I.
No, I don't like that either. Like to me, like what happened to having to be smart and having to internalize those things and having to remember those things? I can't stand that. Like you don't get a cheat sheet to take out on the field with you. Like what happened to athletes being also mental creatures of like, that was something that set you apart as a player, right? Like this guy could have all the talent in the world, but he doesn't know what this guy did last inning, or he doesn't know where this guy hits the ball more often than not. And so he doesn't adjust by himself. Like to me, that is mind boggling that you are allowed to take a cheat sheet out to tell you where to stand on the field. Like to me, that's no different than the stupid laser pointers that everybody was all up in arms about. Like what's the difference between using a laser pointer and taking out a cheat sheet? Like, no, like what happened to having to be smarter than the other guy?
And also
just awful. I hate it so much.
And also, like when you were a kid, you used to learn like the way that the batter held his bat, where it was positioned, and what the pitcher was throwing, and you had to kind of guesstimate. Hey, it's going to be outside, so you got to move a little bit more center. You got if you're an outfielder, if the pitcher's going to throw a fastball, you got to move a little bit more back. And so like that's a lost talent that I wish would come back. I don't know if you guys remember Field of Dreams, where they were talking about how Shoeless Joe Jackson, they used to say that he knew where the ball was going to be before it happened. And it was because he could read the batters and he could read the pitchers. And a lot of other players could do that.
I think that's how Cal Ripken Jr. was so good at shortstop, being such a big guy. Like he wasn't the most athletic guy, but he knew where the ball was going to be. And he knew the hitters so well that he could adjust. That was something that I appreciated in his game. And Vanny Chris 24 again, like brings up this thing in college is earpieces for the pitchers and catchers. I don't know, like that's still borderline for me. Because I do like the gamesmanship of trying to be out at second base and steal a sign or something like that, like as a runner. So I don't know. Edwards, you got a thought?
So I don't like the pitch com in the MLB. I think it's neat technology. Don't get me wrong. It's cool, but I do not personally like it. I obviously with what the Astros did with the sign stealing, the whole fiasco there, that kind of screwed things up. But I always thought it was part of the game and was always raised and taught to play the game is watch the pitcher, watch the catcher, look for a sign, and that's when you learn when to go. I've always felt like that's part of the game. So I'm not a big fan of the pitch com. I don't like the idea of earpieces for the catchers and the pitchers, but that's just me being an old fogey.
Any thoughts on that, Logan, with the pitch com thing?
I think it's going to get hacked eventually, and people are going to be shocked that it does, and
they might literally get shocked.
Listen, right? We may have another Jose Altuve. Yeah. Sorry, Susie. But yeah, I remember the first game of the 22 season, and I was watching the Cubs. I think it was against the Reds, and they zoomed in right on Wilson Contreras using the buttons as he was about to put the pitch, and they said, "Oh, is that going to be a fastball?" And it was a fastball, and I was like, "Guys, you can't do that. That's
right.
That is so counterintuitive." And I wanted to address Vandy's the poor coaching on the hitting coaches. That is poor coaching on the hitting coaches if you are hitting in the same spot every time. The hitting coach does not control how the hitting coach's job is not to make it is to make you a better hitter. But I think they overvalue what the hitting coach's job really is. It's like, oh, you spend 5 minutes with the hitting coach and all of a sudden you're out of a slump. No. Your job as a hitting coach is to analyze the batter and make sure that everything, that all their mechanics are good, because you need an outside opinion. And so it's not within it's not something that the hitting coach can control. Like everybody on the Cardinals, and I only make fun of the Cardinals because I know them, that everyone made fun of or hated Jeff Albert because, Albert was in a slump. Paul DeYoung is in a slump. This is all Jeff Albert's fault. And I'm like, it's not Jeff Albert's fault. It may be, but it's not all his fault anyway. So I hate it whenever they blame pitching coaches and hitting coaches.
That's kind of, coaches are going to get blamed, right? It's the same in every sport. No matter the OC gets fired because the offense sucks in football or whatever. Okay, it probably wasn't just him, but
yeah,
execution they're the ones.
matters.
They're the ones that take the fall. And kind of the buck stops with them. So, yeah. So, all right. All that being said, we got all the rules out of the way. So I do want to go ahead and start closing things up here. We'll start with our 3 and out questions. Lot of comments in here. I'm trying to kind of sort through kind of which ones I like. Logan and Edwards, you can kind of take a look.
I got one.
I'll start with Oh, yeah. Go ahead. No, you got one. Go for it.
If I steal yours, I'm sorry.
No worries.
Urban and baseball. Okay, so hypothetical. I knew I was. Question then: if Spider Tack was allowed way back when, would you be okay with it then? No, I would not be okay with it because, like I said, it affects your velocity and your movement as a pitcher. And if you're Max Scherzer and you already or Jacob deGrom and you already have astounding movement and velocity, adding 3 more miles an hour to your velocity and then also 6 more inches to your movement. I don't think it's that egregious on the movement, but that's just a number. 3 more inches. That's such a big advantage as a pitcher. And and like I said, it is kind of like steroids for pitchers, in my opinion. So I think that's.
Yeah, I feel like if it was allowed way back when, it would be banned by now. It'd fall into the category of the spitball, right? It's the same kind of thing. You put spit on a ball, it's going to drop 2 feet. It does change, and it's different than licking your fingers and just to get a grip. There's a difference between just getting a grip. So that's where her secondary comment there about sunscreen or rosin or whatever. There's a difference between getting a grip so a ball doesn't slip out of your hands and kill someone versus the kind of what you're saying, to where you are influencing the actual. Yeah, you're influencing the actual
pitch itself,
the pitch itself, whether it's spin rate, whether it's break, whether it's velocity, whatever it is. Yeah. So if you take that away, is a guy going to throw a slider that he's not as comfortable with if he doesn't have the Spider Tack? No, and that gives an advantage to the hitter, and it creates more plays. So I feel the guys that were having to adjust, that were getting blown up as soon as they outlawed the Spider Tack. Hey, guess what? They adjusted. Most of them did. Glasnow didn't.
Poor Glasnow.
But yeah, Island. So All right, moving on to another question. We kind of touched on it earlier. We're talking about all these different rules. If you could institute a rule, this will be our strike 2 question. If you could institute a rule, what would it be? Like none of the ones that we talked about already. If you could do a new rule for baseball, what would you choose? And I'm gonna pick on Edwards a little bit because he's more of the traditionalist here. So Edwards, if you could pick a new rule, what would it be?
I would get rid of the Buster Posey rule
Ooh, interesting.
immediately.
You want more collisions at the plate and
Yes.
catchers not being able to play.
I want players who are conscious of their size and ability to be able to do the job that was originally intended to do. Your job is to protect that plate at all costs. Buster Posey was a small little dude playing a big man's position. He was a hell of an athlete, great catcher, great hitter, but his quote-unquote fragileness, I don't want to say that because that sounds rude and mean. Just because he was who he was and the way he was built. He took one too many hits, and it's a risk when you play that position. And I don't think they should have made this a rule to protect the players. They know what they're getting into. They know what they've signed up for. I just don't like it. So I'd get rid of it.
That's interesting. I have mixed feelings about it because I'm all for preventing injury. However, I do like keeping aggressiveness in the game. So it's like it's a really fine line. And obviously, like, I'm a huge Buster Posey fan, and so not having him for a year was really, really sucky. But yeah, man, I don't know. That's a tough one for me. I don't know that I can make a call on that one.
Being a catcher is inherently dangerous, is my point.
100%.
I mean, it is the most dangerous position, second most dangerous position on the field, because pitchers are pretty vulnerable after they throw a pitch and a liner comes back at them at 120 miles an hour.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would push back on that one, but I'll get back to it.
Okay, that's fine. But catchers is the most physical position on the field. They're supposed to be the toughest players. I just don't like the rule, man. I just don't. I like your stereotypical catcher. 6'2", 235 pounds, built like a brick shit house, and can gun the ball down to second base.
Brick shit house.
And can't hit worth a lick.
I did not say that. I want everyone to know that.
I respect catchers. I used to play catcher. I get it, but I was not one of the stereotypical size catchers either. Like I'm a smaller guy, so there's a personal side of it to me where I'm like, protect me a little, please. But I only played for a couple seasons, so it's not as big a deal to me. But all right, so interesting, Logan. Fire away. What's your rule?
Oh, my rule. Take paper out of baseball. So take the cards out. So that's. I don't. I think that needs to go. Which apparently I don't mean to keep doing John Boy, but they interviewed the Raul Banez, who is one of the rule changers. Apparently, I didn't know that.
Random guy to have on that committee.
Yeah, I mean that's cool, but still. And it was a couple months ago, and they were talking about how paper in baseball they're trying to work on getting rid of that too. So
I like it. That's good. I didn't hear that.
The catcher's thing, I don't like the catcher being planted on the ground and having a 220-pound guy going 40 miles an hour at him full force and just ramming into him. I think that's more dangerous than most football collisions. Don't quote me on that, but still, I think that's I don't like that. I don't like that aspect of the game. I don't miss it. I don't need it. I'd rather have a game where I see Yadier Molina, Buster Posey, JT Realmuto, Mauer, who probably would have played a lot longer if he had if that rule had been enforced earlier. So, anyways,
Yeah, I think there's a side effect to that, or I don't know if a side effect, but like background to that of like you're not really allowed to retaliate anymore either. So like I remember stories of like Nellie Fox, right? Like way old school player, but and so I don't, if nobody knows who that is, I don't mind. But he was super small player, but he was middle infield and would like one of the things that other teams knew was you don't mess with Nelly. Like you don't come barreling into second base and run him over because he's such a small guy, or our pitchers will kill you. Like they will drill you in the head. And with that being gone from the game, that whole retaliation factor being gone from the game, I think you would need to bring that back to an extent if you're going to allow guys to run over the catcher. Like, okay, you can run over the catcher, sure, but just know you're going to be risking something when you get back up to the plate. That kind of old school grit of retaliation or eye for an eye type of attitude isn't so much in the game anymore. And I think part of that is because pitchers are throwing so hard and like it's a lot more dangerous, I think, than it used to be to do something like that. And so it's very kind of poo-pooed on now of, hey, you don't throw at guys really anymore. Still happens, obviously, but and there's still right ways to do it. But yeah, like it's that old school of like, hey, if you're going to run over my guy, you're going to get drilled in the head, like knock it off. And so if you're going to do away with the rule, then you got to allow players to police themselves a little bit too, is my take. But
I agree.
So, yeah, Vandy Chris, don't kid yourself. That plunk is still part of the game, very much so. Yeah, but not like it used to be, my man. Like you didn't have guys tiptoeing into the box knowing something's coming.
yeah.
But
my favorite message of the day.
Yeah, I like that. All right, so let's go back. I will touch on this. I honestly don't have a whole lot to say on it, but Vandy Chris, you're showing your where you're from a little bit. But question number 3 for 3 strikes, and we are out. What are the Marlins doing in trading JJ Bleday to the A's? And I think that was for what's the guy's name? Puck?
AJ Puck.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't have a whole lot to say to this because I'm not like super deep into these guys. So like if you guys have any thoughts on this, and Vandy Kristen, we might have to have you on the show to talk about it, but any thoughts on this last question here?
I am looking at their baseball references right now. I mean, Puck
They're both former first rounders. I know that much.
Puck is a solid relief pitcher. And I mean, he had a really good FIP last year at 368 FIP. So, I mean, if I'm a Marlins fan, I'm not hating this. He's been in the league since 2019. JJ Betty, in his small stint with the Marlins last year, he played in 65 games, 238 plate appearances, and had a 586 OPS, a 277 on base percentage, and a 67 OPS plus. So maybe the Marlins were like, listen, he's not really that good for us. So maybe the Athletics can do something. And meanwhile, we can bolster up that bullpen, which was kind of lacking.
Yeah, I like Susie coming in with some more info on that too. I think Vandy Chris has a soft spot because he was a Vanderbilt guy, and from the username, I'm assuming that Vandy Chris is a Vanderbilt guy. So, yeah, that's interesting. So AJ Puck is an MLB ready pitcher, whereas Bleday needs work still and hasn't really proven himself. Is what Susie's take is. This is what I like with the baseball world, right? Everybody's kind of got different information and can kind of help each other out. So I like that. Edwards, did you have any thoughts on that, or was this kind of like me? It wasn't really on your radar, so to speak.
So it wasn't really on my radar. From all I saw on it, the only thing I can make of it is it's about fit, what they need, holes they're trying to fill. Other than that, it doesn't make much sense to me, except for they felt like it was something they needed to do.
Yeah, I feel like this is now from what Susie is telling me, like it does seem like an A's type move, right? Like they're giving away an MLB pitcher for a prospect that hasn't really proven themselves. But oh, there we go. Hey, glad we answered a question. There you go. Man, Susie's on it. He raked at Vanderbilt, not the same hitter in the bigs. I'm assuming that's what she meant. I don't know where the bugs are, but all right. Any other closing thoughts? Well, I will say I forgot to say my one rule, but I think I would be with Logan on the no paper in baseball kind of thing. Like you want to do all your analytics leading up to the game, be my guest. But no, you don't get to pull a piece of paper out of your hat or out of your butt or whatever.
And a salary floor. Do that too.
Yeah, I do like the salary floor.
And a cap.
Yeah, you can't have a floor without a cap, I feel like. But,
Yep.
All right, Edwards, I'm going to put you on the spot. Since that is our 3 strikes and you're out segment, I would like you to give us, just like you do your stretch at the beginning, give us your best strike 3 call and we are out. And so you'll give us strike 3 and you're out of there. And we will see you all next week. No show on Friday. We'll see you all on Monday. 3 strikes and we are out.
Before we go.
Oh, yes.
If you're watching this on the Variety Sports Network main channel, don't watch it on the VSN baseball channel. We have just opened our VSN collegiate. We have just opened VSN football, VSN baseball. All of this is going to be on the link down below in the description. If you haven't already subscribed, you're going to be able to see Back That Astros Up with our own Bourbon and Baseball girls, Susie and Shelby Miller. Not that Shelby Miller. They just interviewed the Hispanic announcer for the Francisco somebody. I can't remember his name, but it was a great interview.
His name, yeah. Oh, it was a great interview.
But for the Astros, and that was a great one. We also have Birds at Bush, where Josh hosts a great show. He's so good. And then we also have a new show brought to you by Josh Lewis. I don't know if we're ready to announce that one yet, or we kind of have announced it, but
we started talking about it. But we'll have a Giants one, facing the Giants. We're talking Giants baseball.
And thinking baseball now, first real episode will be on Friday. So we are going to be oh, you know what? I think I do know who Vandy Chris is, so I'm sorry, Vandy, for all the shit. Sorry, bud. Anyways, so yeah, be on the lookout for that. Go subscribe, because this show will not be on the main channel for much longer.
All of our socials down there, bottom of the screen. Go do it. All right, Edwards, give us your best umpire impersonation and send us off.
Strike 3, you're up.